Today we're going to talk about making money with POS. This is going to be old hat for some of you, but some new stuff for a lot of you. In that, a bit of a history lesson, but it's also a bit of how you can modernize your operation. So this is going to be more on the business side of point of sale. It wasn't that long ago that when you were doing Windows-based point of sale, you knew you bought the hardware, you marked it up, you sold it, sometimes you discounted it, but you made good money on the hardware. Well, the hardware business has kind of gone away. With the advent of the tablet systems, customers are buying their own tablets in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, the tablets are a lot less money than the Windows-based hardware. So it's not as easy to make money on the hardware as it once was. Well, let's talk about today how you can still make good money with point of sale and make up for some of the losses you're getting into the hardware business. Just a brief history lesson. The cash registers were invented in about 1890, in the 1890s. They were invented to help stop theft. And that aspect of the system has never gone away. You're still primarily a theft deterrent or a theft prevention device. But from the 1890s, payment terminals really weren't invented until about 1979. So about 90 years went by, and point of sale didn't really have credit cards. Not it really. The payment terminal came around in 1979, even though you can find some history lessons that say credit cards were invented in the 1950s. They really weren't adopted in mass until after 1979. Restaurant POS companies were very slow to embrace credit cards. Primarily, they started with the table service environment, moved a little bit toward then casual dining. Quick service was the last one to adopt it. Quick service did not bring in the credit card terminals until much later. They were experienced such small margins, they didn't want to give up anything to the credit cards. So they were the very last to adopt it. Somewhere between 1980 and 2010 timeframe, you had partnerships. You had partnerships with the traditional brick and mortar point of sale companies would then partner with a credit card guy. Credit card guy would handle just the credit cards, and the point of sale guy would handle just the point of sale, and they would exchange leads and they would call each other when they knew something was going on. Partnerships were the thing during that time frame. You can still find a few now, but mostly it was two different companies working together. Combining is the way to go now. You got a point of sale guys are now adopting credit cards, and they're making their arrangements with certain processors. And then the credit card guys processing credit cards are now getting into the point of sale. There's a lot of struggles there. And we see this on a regular basis where the credit card guys, they know they need to be in the point of sale business. They know they need that side of it, but they struggle with the extra work that has to go into a point of sale system. Point of sale is a more challenging aspect. It requires more knowledge, more effort, and some of the credit card guys just don't like to do that. They think partnerships are the way to continue to do so. If you can find them, that's fine, that's good. It's just not so much. Independents are being squeezed right now, both independent point of sale and independent credit card guys. They're being squeezed. Companies are buying out, processors are buying out point of sale companies, and it's just getting really harder and harder for you as an independent business person just make a decent living. So that's why it's so critical that you run across an independent like Adello that allows you the freedom to use Adello Pay or your own processing. It's very rare in this industry that you find somebody like us, and when you can partner with somebody like us, you do have the best of all worlds in that respect. So there's your history lesson. Now let's talk a little bit about the specifics of what we're going to do today. I want you to think about a $1 million restaurant. Some restaurant that's in your portfolio that you do business with now that does about $1 million a year top line revenue. Let's just say this company does about 60% credit card. I chose that number because that could be high, could be low, but let's just go with 60% credit card. That gives them about a $600,000 a year processing. If they were to assume a $27 average ticket, that means they're doing about 100 transactions a day. If you are a credit card person or come from that side of the business, you're gonna say, well, that's $600,000 in processing, and you're gonna focus on that. I need you to get away from that. I need you to move away and start looking at the top line. I want you to start looking at that $1 million restaurant, because now with point of sale involved in your business, you're not just the credit cards. You're now responsible for 100% of their business. You're now responsible for everything with regard to that restaurant as far as doing business. Whereas if they were without credit cards before, they could struggle and limp by. Now with point of sale, you are as critical to them as every aspect of their business. You're as critical to them now as the plumber or the electrician or the person who fixes their fryers. You're a critical aspect of their business, and you should approach it as such. We'll get into it a little bit more, but I want you to start thinking about, plumber doesn't do plumbing for free. The person fixing the fryer doesn't do it for free. And the electrician doesn't come out and do it for free. And neither should you fix the point of sale for free. Credit card guys are just notorious for saying, I'll come out and I'll fix it and I'll take care of it. Because you are so focused on that residual income from the processing. I need you to get away from that mentality of doing everything for free and start looking at yourself as a service entity that can then be creating service revenues. Now, as far as point of sale goes, $1 million restaurant is going to need about 3 terminals. It's going to need 3 credit card terminals, obviously, 5 printers. That's 1 for each terminal, and let's say 2 for the kitchen. It's going to need staging. It's going to need database build and training and install. Those are the services and the hardware that you're going to need to bring into the restaurant in order for them to function in $1 million business. Nice. Knowing that, let's look at what your profits are. Hardware profits, they're going to have an iPad or an Android. You're going to have a tablet. You're going to have a stand to go with that, unless you're buying an all-in-one. You're going to have a printer, cash drawer, and then as far as that goes on the hardware profits, an iPad should be around anywhere from $0 to $100 profit. Now, what I'm saying is some customers are going to try to provide their own iPad. That's fine. What I used to do was to give them that freedom was to say, if you're going to provide your own iPad, remember, you're going to provide your own service on that iPad. If that iPad or that Android has a problem, you need to go back to where you bought it from to get that service. I can't service it. It's not mine. I didn't buy it. I don't have the warranty on it. If you're gonna buy it on your own, then you're going to be responsible for the support and the hardware repairs on that device. If I provide it, then I'm going to have a markup on it, and I'll be the one that will be the one to take care of the hardware and support on that. So give the restaurant, the owner, that choice, and they will most likely purchase from you. Therefore, they know they have one throat to choke if they have a problem. If they're going to supply their own, if they still want to do it, I would charge them $100, and as far as the staging fee, to say I need that hardware at least a week ahead of time, and I'm going to take that hardware and I'm going to stage it, make sure it's running, and get everything set up ahead of time, and that's going to cost an extra $100 to do that. That's a reality. So if they're going to provide you the hardware, you should charge them a fee. If you're going to supply the hardware, you should charge the fee. Next up is the stand. You should make about $50 to $100 on the stand as far as profit margin markup. On the printer, another $50 to $100, depending on which printer and how much you can charge for it. And then the cash drawer, you're going to make about $50. That makes your hardware profit between $150 and $350 per terminal. Now, for our purposes today, I'm going to say we're going to make about $250. So for our purposes only, but you could make up to $350 in hardware profits alone per terminal. Next up are services. That would be database build, staging, and training. And then finally, installation. The database build, you should get about, well, for all these services, about $500 a terminal is what you should get. That database build can be as easy as using our AI tool to take a picture of the menu and have it build it for you. You can have that. In certain circumstances, you could get us to build it and we're going to charge you for it. You should then charge the customer for that. If you want to do it on your own, you can make the full 500, which is what I would suggest you do, is take a look at doing that. If you are hesitant, we'll train you on how to build a database. We're easy to get along with there. Staging is literally taking the hardware and putting it into a rack or on a shelf and setting it up and letting it sit for 2 or 3, 4 days to make sure everything's working properly. That's staging. You want everything staged before you get to the restaurant. You never ever wanted to go to the restaurant and unbox hardware for the first time at the restaurant. That is the worst thing you could do. Do it ahead of time, let it sit for 2 or 3 days before you go for the install. So when you do go for the install, it's just a matter of walking in, putting a box down, opening it up, and you've already got the terminal and the printer and the cash drawer. You know works. You've already labeled them. You've got the IP set. Everything's ready to go. You don't want to do that for the first time at the restaurant. You want to do it at your location, rebox it, and then bring it to the restaurant to do. And then training. That should be done as well ahead of time. You want to have a smooth install, and you're going to take, a couple of 3 hours maybe to train the staff, another 3 to 4 hours to train management and owners. But you want to do that before the opening, and you need to train. You need to charge for it. So $500 a terminal is what I used to do. Is what and I was not that many years ago, but I would do $500 a terminal. So 3 terminals, I would charge $1,500 to do all those services. Anything extra would be $500 a day. And for $500 a day, they got an 8-hour day. Now, generally, I would let them break it up into 2 to 3 portions. So you may have a 2-hour session, a 4-hour session, a 2-hour session, but you get 8 hours for your $500. It's key that you have that as part of your proposal, that you show that you're going to charge $500 a day extra if they need training. If they need it by the hour, I would charge $125 an hour. That's those 3 terminals would be an extra $1,500 in services that you're going to make on this install. Another reason that you show the $500 a day extra is that that's a bargaining tool for you when it comes time for negotiations. What would you rather do? Give a discount or give away another day of training? I chose always to give an extra day of training. That's 2 things. It would give them value for the discount. In exchange for the discount, they get an extra day of training, and they always can use an extra day of training. It's better for you because then they'll be a better customer knowing the system better. But for the POS side on services, profits should be about $1,500 on a 3 terminal install. Now the software profits. Now this is assuming that you're going to use your own processing and you're going to use the SaaS model. So the SaaS revenue is going to be about $40 a terminal. We charge you $59, list price is $99. And we find that to be extremely competitive in the market because our competitors for a POS system with gift card loyalty, QR ordering, QR payments, an app for ordering, delivery, online ordering, all those modules can run $300 to $400 a month just for the first terminal. So it gets out of hand in a hurry. So our $99 a terminal is not high. In fact, it's more than competitive when you start looking at your top three competitors. That for three terminals means you're making $120 a month on just the software alone. That's $1,440 a year. Or let's take a look at a 3-year term. That's $4,320 over the 3 years. That's sheer profit for you. So where are we now? Hardware profits, services profits, and software profits. So your hardware was at $750, services at $1,500, and software at $1,440 for that first year. But remember, we're doing that for 3 years. That's $4,320 so far. And there's more. So all of a sudden, we're making good money. And what's happened here is that we've taken the money that we used to make in the hardware side of the business when it was a Windows-based application. We used to make money on the hardware. Now we make more money on the software and have made up for it in the software business, on the software side. Whereas before, software was in not so much, maybe $200 or $300 a terminal. Now you're making more money on software that is made up for the loss of profits in the hardware. So let's look at some additional services. Managers and owners for training, they're going to change. Managers change often. Restaurant business is a turnover business, and they're going to need their new manager trained on the software. There's going to be something called preventative maintenance. This is something we used to do heavily in the Windows era that is kind of gone away. People don't do it as much, and you need to take advantage of that. Preventive maintenance is literally coming out with a 409, a rag, and some extra cables and going through and cleaning the system, blowing out the printer dust, cleaning up all the terminals, checking to make sure the cables are good, or just go ahead and replace the cables that go from the printer, the patch cable from the printer to the wall. Replace those cables. Give them a new look system. Preventive maintenance is what that's called. Then there's things called priority service, which is where you have certain customers that get priority over other customers. And you can do that by selling them priority service systems. And then there's something called zone charges, where you have a customer who's in town, they get one price. A customer who is 50 miles outside of town, they get a different price. And they get a zone charge for being that far from your home office. So additional services should be $125 an hour or $500 for an 8-hour day. This $125 an hour is instead of you guys giving away your services where you would just get a call and I'll be there in a minute and go take care of it. Now you should charge for that 125 for going on site and making those changes and being there as a support entity. You can then, for preventative maintenance, start charging 100 to 125 for a quarterly visit. If you can get out there quarterly and make this happen, you're going to have a better system. It's going to be taken care of better, have fewer problems, and you'll have a happier customer, even if you are charging them $100 to $125. They're going to love the fact that they've got a brand new system or looking like a new system, and seeing you in their restaurant is going to make them be more comfortable with doing business with you. Priority service can run $25 to $50 a month. And for that, they can get beyond an 8-hour day. Normal service hours are your business hours, Monday through Friday. After hour service, after hour support should be a charge. And it should be time and a half to double time, depending on what time of the day it is and what day of the year. So if you start charging them $25 to $50 a month on an ACH for priority service, then they don't get that extra charge. They get the normal hours, 24 hours a day. That is doable, and that is easily sold. And then the zone charges can be $25 an hour per zone. So zone 1 is 125, zone 2 is 150, zone 3 is 175 an hour. You can make it up that way. So zone charges are another real way of making additional services. So let's take a look at what those could mean. If you charged $500 to do a manager training, that would get that manager up to speed on the system and make you another $500. Preventative maintenance, if you only did it twice a year, would be another $200. Priority service at $25 a month, that's an additional $300 a year. And I just said zone charges, maybe you can't sell it, but that all those together are $1,000 a year in additional services. That business to you should be not assumed, it should be earned, but it's something you should charge for. That $1,000 a year is a real number that you should be obtaining. So where we are now, back to our hardware profits, 750 services, software profits. Now, additional profits at $1,000 a year for the next 3 years, that gets you to where you should look at that customer and say, that's $9,570 in profits that you can make just on the point of sale side. That's about $265 a month. So think back to that $600,000 credit card processing, 100 transactions and $27 average ticket. What have you been making on that customer? What do you make on that? And I bet that extra 265 will go real well along with that credit card processing. You're now making really good money on that one customer per restaurant. You're making really good money. So don't pass up the point of sale side when it comes to the profits in a sale. You can make really good money here. But there's more. Add-ons add profits. Days of training add additional profits. How about KDS, kitchen and rear displays? Those are additional if you can sell those too. Handhelds and kiosks. Those are extra money. So you should look at that day of training as an extra 500. You should look at the KDS or a rear display as an additional $360 a year. Then there's handhelds. Every handheld you sell is going to be an additional $1,440 in profits for you over 36 months. Every handheld is big money. I didn't even count the hardware profits on that. I just counted the software profits. So every handheld is going to be another $1,440 in your back pocket. POS profits is doing good business. There's multiple revenue streams in your business. There's the credit card processing. There should be hardware profits. There should be services profits and support profits. There are multiple revenue streams that are available to you that you should be taking advantage of. Don't just look at it from the processing side and give away the POS. That's just bad business. Double your income with POS revenues, service revenues, and software revenues. All right, any questions? I know this has not been a topic that should get a lot of questions, like a product or introducing new product, but this is critical to your long-term success in this industry. It's way beyond processing revenues. You need to have the revenues from the point of sale side as well. So what questions do you guys have?
I got one. Hi, Jerry.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff here. But just had a question. If you get a guy calling you with a real squirrely kind of a problem, um, what is I assume that Adello has a technical support higher level thing that can handle that, right?
Yeah, Miles, we have 24/7 live technical support.
Hmm.
So that customer can call us directly for the support. You can call
Right.
us direct for the support. It doesn't matter which one. The support I was talking about in this, where you charge, is if you have to go out to the restaurant
Of
to get
course.
a printer problem, a cable problem, a tablet problem. The telephone support is included at no charge for you and the end user.
And for as a merchant service rep, would you allow me to have remote access to log into their thing and see if I can figure something out from home kind of thing?
You should do that. You should have a login to their system. Every customer you have, you should have your very own username and password to have
Hmm.
access to that system to make those changes.
So that's okay to do that. Okay.
Oh yeah, we encourage you to do that.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Right, any other questions? Okay, then I'm going to call this one at the end, and I'll get this thing recording edited and up next week. And gosh, I look forward to next week's class. Have a good week.